Today's guest, Stoy Hall, brings a perspective on wealth that's shaped by experience, resilience, and a real commitment to changing the system from the inside out. He grew up with financial scarcity, racial barriers, and zero access to the kind of money conversations that build generational security. So he built a career dedicated to fixing that. Stoy is a CFP, the CEO and founder of Black Mammoth, and the creator of the No BS Wealth brand, where he uses podcasting and video to deliver real financial education to the people who need it most. His shows reach different audiences at their biggest pain points with a mission to serve first and let business happen naturally. If you've ever wondered how to build trust, expand your reach, and generate leads for your business while leading with service, Stoy's approach is going to shift the way you think about podcasting for business. Listen all the way to the end. This one is powerful.
You're listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals, the show where smart advisors, planners, CPAs, and money experts learn how to use podcasting as their most powerful marketing tool. I'm Virginia Elder, podcast strategist and founder of Podcast Abundance. Since 2019, I've helped financial professionals stop wasting time on random marketing tactics and instead build a podcast that increases authority, expands reach, and consistently drives leads. Before we jump in, I've got something that will change the way you think about your podcast. The most important 30 seconds of your show happens right after someone hits play. And most hosts have no idea what to say, how to make an impact, or how to capture the right listener that quickly. That's why I created the Attraction Messaging Blueprint, your simple guide to crafting a strong trailer, a tight 30-second intro, and a clear outro that actually generates leads for your business. Grab yours today at podcastabundance.com/attraction messaging blueprint. Hey, Stoy, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. So I want to just jump straight into your story and kind of allow listeners to hear about how you got here today. I see that you now have your own firm. You've written a book, you have a podcast, you've got the YouTube channel. It seems like there's a lot going on, but your story really starts with some racial inequity and financial illiteracy and things like that as a kid. So would you kind of guide us? Like, how do you go from that situation into being where you are now, which appears to be very successful? So inspire the kids out there.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Like you said, born and raised with a single white mother with a black father who really wasn't around. And for those that know me, and for those that are also light-skinned like me, that's our joke. Like, we're just the common, like, that's norm, right? It is what it is. But when I was being raised, and I wasn't just raised by her, I was raised by my grandparents. I was raised by my friends, families that are successful and stuff like that. So I really got to see things from a whole different picture than just my mother, which is good and bad, right? It was good because I got to learn from others. I could understand that there's other things out there than just what we were living. But it was also bad because I understood that my mom was stuck in a way that she couldn't get ahead, right? So I thought, at least when I was a kid, it's just what it is. This is what I'm going to have to do the same thing she does because that's just where we're at. But quickly realized that's not the case. My friends, families have businesses. My mom eventually launched a business with my grandma, and things were looking up, and you start to figure out like, oh, there are opportunities out there. Money isn't about the gifts and the things that, you know, my mom would give to me. And that's her love language. My mom's love language was gifts and items, which is cool. Right? Took me a long time to figure that out, but that's fine. And so growing up in that realm with not a lot of money, you know, didn't have my father, single mother who worked 12-hour shifts, you just start to, and being a single child, by the way, you have to only child that is, you have to figure out like what matters and what means most. And it took me a very long time to figure that out. Now, luckily enough, I was athletically enough to go to college, play football at Drake University, get my degree in finance, and I minored in business law and insurance. But it even took me about a couple years after that to really figure out what was going on from where my childhood was. And part of that is the 4.5 years I spent at the Boys and Girls Club. And my title was Professional Teen Development Officer. Fancy way of saying I babysat the teenagers room. Is really what that alluded to. But as I was talking to them, getting to know them, getting to know their situations, it was very similar to my own, right? Where lower income family didn't really have the knowledge to know what's going on to get out of their situation because of some trauma that they had when they were kids. Just we kept repeating the cycle. And I started to understand, like, we have a financial illiteracy issue in America. Found out it's actually the world, but we definitely do in America. I wanted to do something about it. So started down the path like most of us do in the insurance world with a nonprofit, a not-for-profit, and quickly realized that, one, the school systems in our districts also didn't want financial education in their schools. There was always a hoop to jump through. This, this. We can't have free materials because then we won't get our federal funding, but federal funding doesn't do financial literacy. You know what I mean? Like, it just kept going. And I got through that and became a managing partner. And it was like, I want to do what I think is best for people. And that is financial planning. Mm-hmm. I don't mean the definition of financial planning that most people think of when I say that. And that is investments only, right? Like, investments is financial planning. No, I mean, like, how do you make decisions? How does those decisions every day affect your life, right? What traumas did you have to go through? What emotions are you feeling right now? And back then I just didn't know what that was. So I eventually left that firm, ended up joining another firm out of Houston. We started doing financial planning. And then I got this like really weird itch to look into what a family office is. Because I was like, there's a lot of wealthy people in this world that keep becoming more wealthy. But I know as a person, there's just not enough time in the day to do that. So how does this actually work? And figuring out the traditional family office model of they have a team that they've hired, both lenders, attorneys, accountants, you name whatever it needs to be. They hire them to run their life, essentially. And they can make the higher end decisions, but they don't make all the lower end decisions, and they can continue to grow. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. But that's only for people who are worth millions of dollars, like tens, 20s, hundreds, billions of dollars. Why can't the rest of us have something like that? And it kind of like got me interested in like, well, to do so, I need to launch my own firm, because the way my firm I was with then, they were more of the traditional sense of have a lot of advisors, have a lot of clients, build the traditional advisor model way, right? That doesn't fit with me. I want to do this family office thing because I only want to have, back then it was, I thought I wanted 60, 80 clients. Now, today, 40 is going to be the max. And the realization of that comes to do any type of family office stuff, you need to know your client inside and out. You need to know what's in their closet, what's outside of their closet. You need to know and be ready to do the next move. You need to know where they're at emotionally. And all of that takes time and trust. But it allows you the freedom to do those things for them. And so we launched Black Mammoth in September of 2020. So we're over 5 years now, around the modern family office concept of doing all those things, but we whittled it down to business owners. And we work with minority, women, and LGBTQ business owners around the family office model. Now, not everyone needs everything that the wealthy do, but they need certain services at certain times, and that's what we can provide them. So while that's going on, and I'm rambling everybody, but I'm trying to get you caught up to speed. While that was going on, we were launching that. My staff came to me and were like, let's do a podcast, right? I played D1 football. The other one played D1 football. The other was a wrestler. And then the other was really loved the stocks and loved sports betting. And we were like, okay, let's launch one. But I don't want to launch the wealth one yet because I want to figure out how this works.
Okay.
Ended up launching a sports one called No BS Goon Squad, which was our sports podcast where we were talking about sports betting and using our experiences and interviewing people back and forth to get an understanding of how podcasting works before we'd launch No BS Wealth. So we eventually launched No BS Wealth in 2020, kind of designed around bringing on experts, what we deemed experts, bringing on people to speak about, business ownership and just an overall wealth idea to bring to them. But as that's grown, now that we are 4.5 going on 5 years, we've whittled that down to now we only have a collective. So right now we have about 17. We're going to have a 31-person collective. That's the only guests we bring on. And the reason for that is we can go deeper into concepts. We can go deeper into stories, deeper into things that if you just have random guests every time, you just can't get that deep, right? And so this collective is people that I've vetted out for not only our podcast, but they're also 31 individuals that we use for our business, right? If our client needs something, it's part of the collective. And so that's now where we've accomplished everything in that. So yes, we do a lot. I have three YouTube channels. I've got one podcast that has 2 series to it. Obviously, I do guest speaking and all of those things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what brings me the most energy and joy is the fact that I can educate and just speak on these items, whether that's engaging on social media, doing podcasts with you name it. It's just a matter of getting true, transparent, real conversations out to the people so that they can stay off the TikToks and the Instagrams of how to get rich quick, because there are ways to do it, but not those ways.
Wow, I love it. Okay, so your story, I know, is just hitting home for a lot of folks, because even if they don't have the exact background or story or struggles that you had, so many advisors go through the path of thinking they were wanting to do one thing, tested out the insurance space, were with a private firm that really limited their potential, and either have already gone out on their own so that they could do their own thing and have their own show and stuff like that, kind of get a little bit of a different strategy going on with compliance, or they're really still in that spot going, I'm about to jump. So I know that they are really identifying with you. So thank you for sharing all that. I would love to hear you real quick before we dive more into the podcast. I want to hear about how you balanced the knowledge that you need, high net worth, high value clients for this family office concept, but also having this deep desire to serve women, Black people, minorities in all cases, LGBTQIA folks, when we know just from surveys and data that wealth isn't typically in those folks' pockets, right? And so many of us are working to shift that narrative. It's super important for all of society, especially everything that we've seen within the past year. But how did you marry those two ideas and say, I don't care that your old white dude's got the most wealth right now. I'm going to serve these people because it's important to me.
I'm going to be honest and real. It took me till 2023 to really switch that far. Now, granted, in 2023, after I left my business partner, and that was part of the issue, which is a whole different.
That's a whole nother show, right?
But I recognize, and I just look back at my book of business, and it was at that point, 90% women, right? I grew up with a single mother, so that tracks, right? I am a Black male. That also tracks. I got a lot of friends and family that are LGBTQ. And so it's I'm already vibing that. That's already my people. What can I do more to help them? Now, granted, everyone listening, it is hard. I don't have any Black clients currently, okay, at all. And a lot of that is because of, one, lack of education, two, trusting this system, right? Quotes, everybody, system, whenever we need to deal with that. And ultimately understanding that to make money, you have to spend time and energy and resources for someone to help you. And minorities, as abroad, all of those don't trust enough to do so. And we're at this really precipice, in my opinion, that people are starting to realize that, which means they're starting to get ahead. But also then we have all of this older population that's passing away that is now providing some resources back down. And we're in this weird area that if I wasn't speaking, or the ones that I know in my collective aren't speaking on this, that we could really lose a whole nother generation. And so, yes, could I easily go out and just focus on the traditional middle-aged white guys who are business owners and make a lot more money? Absolutely. But that doesn't feel right. 2, I don't think that's where we're going as a country. And 3, everyone deserves these types of services. Everyone. Now, granted, do they need all of the services to the degree at which we provide? No. But there are people to serve every person on this planet, and every person on this planet needs someone in their right hand, in their corner, because not a single rich person on this planet has done it alone. People, they just don't. It's not possible. So that's why I focus there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for breaking that down. I think, from a stuffy business perspective, the tendency is like, go where the money is, right? But then so many of us find, maybe it's on this subject, maybe it's on a different subject, but like that separation of like, but I really want to do this thing and I'm passionate about this. I could talk about this all day and I love this, but then I gotta have meetings with these type of people. Like it's just, you feel that disparity and that like pull in 2 different directions sometimes. So thank you for breaking that down.
Hey there, quick sidebar to this episode. Most business owners jump into podcasting with a concept and maybe even a guest list, but zero plan or comfort with what they're going to say during their intro, outro, or trailer. And these are the most important segments for your podcast because they either hook your ideal listener or lose them fast. The Attraction Messaging Blueprint fixes that. Inside, you'll learn the 4 key components for writing a memorable intro, a snappy outro, and a powerful trailer episode. You get examples, space to draft and refine your scripts, and a final checklist so you don't miss a thing. If you want your podcast to stand out and actually generate leads for your business, this is where your strategy starts. Download it for free today at podcastabundance.com/attraction-messaging-blueprint.
Okay, let's get into the podcast stuff. So the folks listening, I told you before we started recording, they're all financial pros, some shape or form, whether they do business money or personal money, and they either have a show or want to have a show. And so tell me more about what happened and what the thought process was when the team's like, let's do a podcast. And I love how y'all tested it out with like a sports show and just figured it out that way, and then launched one like for the business specifically. But were they like, oh, this is a great business tool, this is a great way to like practice the way you speak? Like, what was the benefit? Like, how did they sell you on starting a podcast?
Yeah. I had always talked about it. I'd always talked about speaking more. I had not really listened to podcasts really back then much at all. And they were like, 1, you have a great voice, you love speaking, and the way we can get in front of more people is going to be doing a podcast. I was like, yeah, but like, I don't want to be in front of a camera. I don't really like, it's tough for me to relate. I feed off of other people's energy, all of the excuses I could think of. At that point though, I didn't have what a lot of you have, and that's compliance issues, because I was my own compliance officer. So like, I didn't have that issue, which is a whole nother layer of things that we can get into down the road. But they were just like, you already speak to it. You already love speaking. People love to hear you. Why not do it to a bigger audience? I was like, well, I don't know. Didn't think about it. And so then it kind of just developed into that. And a lot of people, I get the question, and I want to allude to what you talked about, is like, is it for business? No, ours is No BS Wealth, is not the same entity as Black Mammoth, my firm. It's not designed to be a way for us to get clients directly. Like, it's indirect. Our purpose is bringing content to educate our population, to them to reach out to get help so that they're not alone in their situation, in their life. That's our purpose. It is not designed for me to get on there and speak and speak and speak and drive people to our funnel to get clients. That's different, right? And that purpose for us mattered the most and is why it brings us so much energy. And it isn't as draining, and it's hard work, but it's about that. And we know the longevity of our messaging will always be there, and it's not designed that way. So they kind of pushed me into it because they know I love to speak. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they were right. I just needed to get on board and just do it.
I love that. Okay, so I typically am playing in the sandbox where we are designing a podcast that directly translates into business. And it might take somebody, 50 episodes to really hear that first phone call of like, I found you on a podcast. I'm ready to do business, right? And even then you're like, wait, what? This actually worked? Like for a while in the beginning, it feels like, there's some suspicion going on that this actually works. But I want to hear more about this kind of indirect strategy and the plan on how you decided about this collective group. I love this community idea of like, here's 30 something of us and we are all serving and we all do different things. We're taking turns doing, episodes with each other and really building this like financial literacy piece of access is really what it is. So talk to me more about that. So cool.
Yeah. Well, the indirect versus direct, for me, I've never been a direct salesman. I've never, that hasn't been part of who I am. My thing is, if I vibe well with you, I provide enough value for you, then you'll become a client, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, because of the relationship. So I wanted to create something that was still that way. Do I get clients from it? Absolutely. Do my other part of our collective get clients from podcasts? Absolutely. And do we have CTAs and stuff like that? Duh, of course. But our purpose isn't that, right? We're letting that happen organically because we just want to focus on building a relationship with you, listeners, whomever's watching, right? And then when you are ready, because we can't push you to do something, when you're ready, we're going to be top of mind because you've been listening or you wrote something down or you read a book of one of ours or whatever it may be, then you come back. So now I know some are like, that's direct selling. Like that's a direct podcast for business. I'm like, but it's not because it doesn't even have our logo on it, right? It has no BS Wealth. It's its own entity because I want it to stand by itself because I want it to be there no matter if business is around or not. It just indirectly then brings us clients, which it should, right? Anything you do indirectly is going to bring something to you. They're going to Google you. They're going to do something indirectly. But how we got to the collective, again, we're going on year 5. I don't know how many episodes we're in, 104.
Yeah, there are nearly 200 videos on your one YouTube channel that I found. So,
we're deep, right? We're deep.
Yeah.
And I really focused on having a guest a week because we do 52. Well, we do more than 52 episodes. I'll get into our series as I get down this, but the original design was to have one guest a week. Okay. That's our original design. And we themed each month, we themed each quarter so we could bring on certain guests to provide a certain thing to our audience, right? Business owners, CPAs, advisors, marketing, attorneys, the plethora of things around there. And last year it clicked to me when I had some really, really awesome ones that came on. And when I got done interviewing them, I felt like I didn't have time to go deeper, right? Our episodes are 30 to 45 minutes. I mean, yeah, I could have went longer and then did a part 2, which is fine. But I wasn't able to go deeper. I was missing something. And it was the longevity of having the same people on in order to go deeper, to provide more insight on specific items, where if we're doing one episode, it's really tough. Like this one, for example, there's a lot of things we're going to be talking about that I'm sure you as the host are like, oh, we could do this, we could go here, but I need to stay in movement of this episode. And it just dawned on me that one, we need to do that. Who are we going to do it with? Well, who do we bring in for our clients for business anyway? Mm-hmm. Who are the ones, my colleagues, that are doing really amazing things with their own podcasts, books, businesses? Well, those are the people I'll talk to anyway. Mm-hmm. So why? Oh, yeah, let's just do a collective. Let's all get together. Let's build more of relationships. We have our our inner circle, if you will, of where we can go back and forth with certain things. We all have different expertises, or even the 7, I think, of them that are advisors, we all hit upon a different type of client. So if one comes to me that doesn't fit me, I have 6 that I'm jumping on a call with and saying, hey, Virginia's badass, but she doesn't fit our style. So if she fits you, let's go do this thing, right? We're able to do so within our collective. And as it grows, again, we just switched it as of August, so it's not like it's been super long. As it grows, we're able to take on more of those informations and go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? That's what the baseline of our collective does. Now, do we have other series? Yes. We have a 12 Days of Giving series. So 12 days go up to Christmas Eve. It's an episode a day. It's about a 15 to 20 minute episode that I bring on my collective, and we go through a client story. Right? We go dive deep into that client's story. So when you're sitting around Christmas time, holidays, you can go, oh, that's me, or I know someone like that, just so you can understand what the type of clients we work with, but also that you're not alone. I also have another series called Let's Get Real, LGR, which has its own podcast or its own YouTube. And that one is just a one-on-one with me going off on what's going on, right? I think the last one I just did was about coaches. I posed a question out to social media about coaches versus financial planners, but also why don't you hire me as a financial planner, and getting all this feedback. And I went off on that. I've gone off on the politics of things. I've gone off on whatever. So it allows me to have that different spin within my atmosphere of no BS, because it's all related, but it's different, right? And it allows people to come to the podcast, not just for a 30 to 45-minute episode, but a 10-minute, what is Stoy going off of that's real and transparent, or holiday time, they've got these conversations about their clients specifically. So that's the podcast.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So I can only assume that in time, of course, you have created these various series and, playlists and this podcast, that podcast, because I think to the initial planner that's thinking about launching a podcast, they're just trying to figure out how to work one into their schedule. Yeah. But this is indicative of the journey, right? Like once you start, you're like, oh, I see how this is a complete train of thought of its own. Kind of like you were mentioning in these episodes. You've totally mentioned like 14 things that I could just do a single episode about, right? But that's the thing. The fear to get started is so palpable and can hold you back for literally years. Like I have an email from someone this morning saying I've wanted to launch a podcast for years and I've been sitting on it. And then they're asking me questions about webinars and things like that. I get those emails all the time. This is normal. People sit on it. But then this is what happens. Once you start, you get even more ideas, even more inspired, recognize how you can support even more people with different things. And what you've done by creating all these different avenues and styles, right? Like the solo show style versus the collective, the sports show, which I don't know if you're still doing, but like that just, each of these pieces is a way that someone can A, discover you, B, get to know you, and then C, go, wait a second, I really want to work with this guy. Like, how do I find him? And then they can go on the hunt, right? Like everybody knows how to just type a name into Google and be like, all right, LinkedIn, sure. Like what else is here? And dive in. So how do you now mix all of these things into your schedule? Like I'm just imagining you're in this room with this cool blue light and you're like on camera all day now. How do you do this and run your business and have a personal life?
Yeah, that was tough, right? As we do so much. And it sounds more than I don't want to say that way. It does sound more than it actually is, right? Because I only record typically if I'm not guesting. All of our content stuff's Mondays and Fridays. Right, that's it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are purely client stuff, or if I have a spot, I'll guest do a spot. Otherwise, that's when I do content, and we usually batch a lot of that. So for example, for the 12 Days of Giving, we start recording that in September. We have everything done by Thanksgiving. It goes live on December 12th, right? So like we try to get them in those windows. I think we already have middle of January done for No BS Wealth. Like we just do so many on those days and we are so far ahead. The only one that's like more time consuming and live, and I've even taken a break. Like I think my Let's Get Real, the last one I did was episode 25, and that was back in like July, August. I just released another one because I coach flag and tackle football and basketball. And so I didn't have the energy anymore to do those. And those are more weekly. Those are usually derived from what's going on in the markets or what's going on day to day or geopolitical mess, right? So I needed those to be more, those had to be more fresh. Well, if I'm not there and I can't emotionally have the energy to do it, I'm not going to do it, right? Because one, I can't do it, but two, it's going to come off different than the message I want to portray. But it also, I care a lot about my boys and I'm going to go coach them. So if that means a 2-month hiatus on one of them, so be it. If that means we miss a week on one of them, that's fine. I know that everyone wants to be consistent and not miss, and they end up getting anxiety of always having it come out and it always being perfect. And it doesn't need to be that way because you need to be real. We're real people. People need to know that you're real people. I don't like professional podcasts. I really don't, because it's fake. It's usually all scripted and it's perfect. We're not perfect. None of us are. Advisors, you speaking to your clients, you're not perfect. You don't know everything. You got to learn. They don't know everything. They've got to learn. And if you have a podcast that is so trying to be so pristine, that doesn't fit humans. Like, it doesn't. You need to make mistakes. You need to have weaknesses. And that's what I hope that everyone portrays in their podcast, and not to be scared is it's not going to be perfect, right? It's going to get better, but you're going to have mistakes. Things are going to happen. And you got to announce that and go with it and be transparent. I think that keeps it authentic, and then authenticity is what matters most.
Absolutely. Thank you, because I could feel the fear in folks reducing as you shared about that, and just kind of that, the whole, the message we've heard a million times of just do it, just get started, but you still have that fear. You're like, yeah, but I can't. And so could you think back with me for a sec and tell me at what point in which show or kind of where you were you relaxed behind the mic and decided this isn't that bad. I can totally do this. I'm going to riff on this topic. And you personally started to feel better about it.
Well, see, the trick there is it was immediate. We actually technically had a script on the first episode ever for the No BS Wealth one. The sports one's totally different, right? We were having drinks, we're talking about sports. It's a whole different thing. But the one specifically, No BS Wealth, which you guys can all go back to, episode 1 is about me, right? We actually had a script of things I wanted to follow. And as soon as I started going, it was gone. I don't have scripts. I don't follow them. Most of my takes, by the way, everyone listening, all of my stuff is recorded once. I don't go back and fix things. I keep mistakes, or I keep flowing through it, or whatever it is, because it's whatever comes out naturally. Now, I do have an experience speaking. I was a leader on the football team at college. I've public spoke before multiple times. It's always been in my nature. So that's not fair to everyone. However, as soon as I started, it was just like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Now, the only thing I was off was where do I look? That was difficult, right? And so I've had to set myself up. Some people can just stare directly above the camera at the camera. That's not comfortable to me. I start getting dizzy. I start moving. So I've set myself up where I can put someone's image, like you for right now, or just under my camera. So I'm actually talking to you. It feels a lot better. And it looks like I'm looking at above or at the camera when it's technically right below it. That is the one thing that was the most difficult for me, because I just didn't know where to look. It was awkward, right? Or don't move over here. Don't you have your spot. You got to stay there. Those were difficult. But the speaking part, honestly, everybody, if you are already comfortable speaking to your clients, that's all you need, and just go with it. But no, you're not going to be perfect. No, you're going to get off script. And if you guest, or you're a host and you have guests, know for sure it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Try to hone them in, but it's going to go off kilter. You're going to go down rabbit holes. And that's what makes it truly authentic and fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that, because I think so many people, especially with AI now and the way that you can kind of customize your GPT, all that stuff, you can really do a stellar job of making it sound like you. And I'll be honest, like my solo episodes are scripted because I just lose trains of thought. Like I will so mess up the episode and not hit the points that I actually wanted to communicate. So I do spend a significant amount of time making sure that I get to say everything I want to in that script, but then also using ChatGPT to like make it more concise because I will talk way too much. So there are tools to like help you through that. But I've done things too where, I've got an app that is essentially the transcript rolling for me so that I can read it, but I still look like I'm looking at the camera. I have practiced enough to where even reading that script, you may not know because I'm able to infuse emotion and facial expressions and still deliver it in a passionate way, even though I already worked on that script for like 2 hours. So, so that is my honest take. But I love your honest take where you're just like, no, can't do it, won't do it. I'll say what I want. And the reason I'm bringing up my way versus your way is that there is no right way. Like you have to do what's comfortable to you. And I love how you were able to identify that. Like first episode, reading a script felt weird and you're like, nope. That is awesome. And I want listeners to really hear that deeply and recognize I can do what I need to do, right? So thank you for sharing that. You mentioned guest interviews and them going wild directions. Can you share a little bit about how do you reel a guest back in, or what were some things that you learned along the way? And you've got experience on both sides, being a guest and interviewing guests. So could you share some tips there? Because I think a lot of folks are nervous about that, right? Like, how do I keep this within 30 minutes? How do I get them to get back on the topic or quit spending 10 minutes telling their personal story or what? Like, how do I do this? Can you share?
Yeah, a few tips. Kind of like what you did. You do the intro outside of the actual filming. That's one easy way to get them not to just ramble on to begin. Okay, first and foremost. Two, I would always do a pre-interview vibe check is what I call it. Like we're going to have a conversation prior to for 10 minutes, just to see if the vibe works, see if we're on point, if I want to speak to you. That one took me about 60 episodes to do, by the way. But now it's part of what I do. Less so now because I know my collective, but if I was to do it again, because you need to be able to vibe with them. You need to have that energy. If you don't, though, it's tough. It's really tough. It's like pulling teeth. It truly is. Two things I say to that. One, just try your best, ask questions. You might have to go off script and add a little more to what you're speaking about to try to guide it back to where you wanted it to, or just to inject some energy. Or two, finish it, never publish it. That's okay too, right? It's okay to not to do it. Now, it might screw up all your timing and where you're at. That's fine. But it's better to not do that if you feel like that product is not okay enough for what you want to do. Now, I've had a couple where I'm the guest and the host wants to ramble on. And that is, I just had one last week. That is difficult because there's nothing I don't have control. It's not my show. There's only so much you can do. So what I try to do is I try to make my points more pointy, right? I tried to be as crisp as I could. So that way we didn't go very long. Now it ended up going like an hour and 20 minutes anyway. Okay. For 45-hour-minute show, but it wasn't because of me, right? And so I think you can also control it a little bit that way as the guest. One, make sure that you're not rambling on, but two, if it's going the other way, which was crazy to me, never had that happen, then maybe you just need to even hone in tighter and just try to get your points out and get them done.
Great advice there. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like straight up, you do not have to air an episode if it sucks. Like people are so scared to do that. They're afraid they're going to let the person down. They're so dedicated to their spreadsheet that they've created with people's names on it that they have to publish people in that order. And no, you do not need to. And even some of my clients, as we are producing their show in the background, we're having at least a quarterly call, if not more often, talking about who's airing in which order, when are you going to interject a solo episode, just all the strategy. And I've had several where I'm like, this one particular interview came off really awkward. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to edit out that section and try to make it like that question answer portion never happened? I know that their answer doesn't align with your values. Like, what do you want us to do with that? And in a couple cases, we have chosen not to air an episode and or do a complete re-recording if the host has that time, is willing to, whatever. So 100%, like, make your show what you want it to be. If it sucks, don't air that episode. Thank you for that advice.
Bro.
I hate being the only person saying stuff like that. So I love it when a guest can come on and like support me. All right. So Stoy, you have a free ebook available. And of course, I'm looking at the Black Mammoth brand, not just necessarily the No BS podcast, but is the ebook where you want folks to go, or do you have a different resource, or how do you want to direct people to get to know you better?
Well, everyone, you've realized that I'm everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot going on. And we do that for two reasons. One, because I got to find a strategy that works. But two, I want to be where you are at and where you're comfortable, right? So yeah, you go to the ebook, you can download the ebook, How to Get Rich Quick, a guide for minority and women business owners. Spoiler, it's not about exactly getting rich in the way you think it is. But if you want to go to social medias, we're on every social media except for Reddit. If you want to go to the website and hang out, you can. There's a chat there. There's videos of me talking to you on there. If you wanted to go to nobswealth.com, you can also go there. There is all the blogs, all the episodes from the collective and everyone there. It truly matters where you want and you get your information. We're there. Okay. TikTok, it doesn't matter. We are there for you. So everyone always asks that. I love when hosts ask me that, like, where do we point them to? Wherever they want to go, ultimately. So wherever you want to go, we're going to be there for you wherever you get your content.
Okay. And so before you go, I want to highlight this strategy, because so many of us are focused on like, what's my favorite platform, and where do I feel comfortable posting? And you throughout this episode have talked about meeting folks where they are, whether they are not going to be your ideal client and they are just in search of financial literacy or education or access to other professionals. You've created a space for that. Or whether they are going to be your perfect client, you have a space where they find you as well. You have multiple spaces, right? So if everyone listening can take a step back and say, who needs to discover me and where are they? And then start creating content, resources, whatever in those places, that's how you're going to reach more people that you actually want to work with, instead of like, I don't know, stuffy old white dudes. So thank you, Stoy, so much for being here. Any closing thoughts, words, encouragement, business advice?
Yeah, I love this part. I always ask as a guest or when I'm a host is reach out, comment, and engage. Not necessarily for the algorithm. It does help us, trust me. But it's because the only way you're going to learn, or the only way we can change our content or update our content, is if we're having communications with you, right? I'm a very public person, very transparent. Everything's out there. So I'll have communications and conversations with you on social media publicly. However, I know that that's not comfortable for everyone. So at least reach out, DM, email, text. I don't care. But ultimately, the only way we can help you is if you help yourself by reaching out. Okay, so please reach out to us. We'll be there. We'll be able to comment. We'll be able to help as if in any which way we can. But that's my only ask anytime I'm ever guesting, is just comment, engage with us, please, so we can provide better content and we can help you or help someone that you're wanting help with.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending your time with me today on Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you walked away with one idea that helps you get more visible, increase your authority, or turn your podcast into a real lead generating machine, then your time was worth it. Before you go, let's make sure you have strong intros, outros, and a trailer for your podcast that pulls in your ideal clients. Grab the Attraction Messaging Blueprint. It gives you the formula, examples, and worksheets to make the most important segments of your show count. Download it for free right now at podcastabundance.com/attraction-messaging-blueprint.